Nigeria has so much potential. I have so much faith. We're 200 million. The statistically, at some point, we'll get it right. We can't keep getting it wrong. At some point, we'll get it right. And the moment we get it right, the world will know. They will hear. Because of our mass and because of the energy we have. I tell people all the time that Nigerian government it doesn't look like Nigerians. Nigerians are agile. They are creative. They anyhow, they get the job done. Then you have a government that can't even build a road, can't even run a hospital. Meanwhile, Nigerians are able to start businesses that become global businesses.
Guys, the video here you are about to watch, I promise you, it is super loaded. Some few things I picked from what this man said in this video you're about to watch. He said, the government of Nigeria does not look like the Nigerian people. It does not represent the Nigerian people. He said, because how come we have Nigerians are intelligent, Nigerians are industrious, Nigeria build businesses that become global businesses, Nigerians do wonders all over the world. But we have government that cannot build roads. We have government that cannot build hospital. We have government that cannot, build hospital that they themselves can stay. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, if you watch this video and you feel it's not what is not loaded, or follow me, I'm telling you, patiently watch this video to the truth. And I beg you for one thing, please. The informations here, please, is what all Nigerians need to hear. The truth here is what all Nigerians need to hear. He said one thing. He said, that thing that touched me. He said 2020 was an opportunity for Nigeria, to correct the wrong that was done to the Igbos, there's where he put it, you understand, to heal a long-time wound. I want to stop here, please. As you watch this video, please kindly help me like it and please share. Thank you.
Your disappointment about the 2023 elections, and when you see things going wrong or the way things are in the country at the moment, do you for a moment think that, well, maybe Nigeria deserves what they get based on what they put in? Or what exactly comes to your mind when you have a review of the 2023 election, especially with your own political stance?
I just feel we missed an opportunity. So that hurts. I think we're so close to going in a different direction. So just thinking back to how close we came to just taking a different decision as a country, as a people, it always hurts. I don't really think, Nigerians deserve it, because the majority of people were not involved in that decision. I believe the presidential election was won with like 6 million or something, and close to 100 million people were registered voters. So I think that there is a huge electorate out there that are not happy with what happened. That the majority of people, this is not their decision. This is not a reflection of what they think Nigeria is and the direction Nigeria should be going in. So I think that we are trapped in the vision of a minority, and really the task is how the majority can properly organize. I don't think that Nigeria as it is today is a reflection of majority decision about what Nigeria is and where Nigeria should be going. So I don't think Nigerians deserve it. I empathize with Nigerians because I feel there are lots of people like me who wanted different and tried different, and we didn't use violence. We used our words. We tried to persuade. We tried to talk. We tried to warn, and things just didn't pan out the way we wanted. And now we're all suffering it. If there was a way to separate the people who wanted this from people who didn't, and let the people that wanted it suffer, we'll be very happy to separate. But there's no way we're all in it together. So I don't feel Nigerians deserve it. I just feel like most of us, this is unfortunate, and we're having to suffer the consequences that we foresaw. Like, this is going to happen. With this kind of political culture of patronage, scratch my back, there's never going to be enough money to tackle our issues. When you're out of every 1 naira, you're using 80 kobo to service political structure. What money is left for education, for health? Even if the government is saving money, does it have enough integrity to use the money it saves on the people as opposed to its own comfort? These are all cultural issues. It doesn't matter what policy you are implementing, but your political culture is going to undermine the efficacy of whatever policy you're implementing. So my brother Seun, I just feel sad because we came close.
When you say we came close, what was the path that you think Nigeria missed?
I think that we should have voted for Peter Obi just because he has less political baggage. I believe that it would have had better results in terms of using public resources honestly, transparently. If we're going to suffer, let it be that all of us are suffering. Not that some people are still flying private jets, driving convoys, eating large, and then it's the people that are being squeezed. Ordinary people are being squeezed while the government is living large. At least we'll have had a government where if there is not enough, we would have seen that there is not enough. Presidents don't reduce in convoy. He's not flying private jets anymore. We'll see that, look, Nigeria is in a tough place. Because Nigeria is in a tough place. But the problem is that the sacrifice is all on the people, while those in office are not making any sacrifices. If you ask, okay, how has the government cut down? They say, we reduce the number of people that travel abroad. Is that cutting down? People can't afford food. They can't afford medicine. You're talking about reducing the number of people traveling abroad. So I think that we missed an opportunity to vote someone who would have used public resources in a more transparent and honest manner. That's the opportunity I think Nigerians miss.
I imagine that for a lot of people who thought Peter Obi was the standard, was amongst his opponents on those who are on the ballot. He fits the bill, and those perhaps who have framed him in their minds, seeing him in the presidential villa, controlling the affairs of the country, and you probably are one of them. I know that you imagine things a lot, and you have a graphic mind because you have a creative and literary mind, and I'm imagining that when that didn't happen, how much of a disappointment was that for you?
It was. I was deeply disappointed. I put my whole heart and my whole soul into it, and in all sincerity, not because I'm not a card-carrying member of the Labour Party. I'm not even what you would call an obedient. I was just a Nigerian who looked at the options on the table and thought, look, this person is the best person. And I put everything I had into it. So obviously, whenever you struggle really hard for something and you don't achieve it, you feel disappointed. But then that's why we all need to be resilient. Social struggle is I always say it's a marathon, it's not a sprint. So you have to be ready. I always give the example, in the US in 1897, the Supreme Court, the highest court in the land, ruled that discrimination and racism was constitutional. Imagine no courts to appeal to beyond that. But African Americans kept struggling, and 50 years later, they were able to reverse that decision. But it took 50 years of struggle. The struggle against apartheid, when the ANC was formed, took about 80 years before Mandela became president. Social struggle takes time. And if you know this, then you know that, okay, we've lost this battle, but we've not lost the war. We have to keep struggling. I have children, 4. So I'm not even fighting for myself. I'm fighting for them and their own children coming. Because in the end, we don't have any other place. Everybody may be happy now. You can travel to the UK, you can travel to America, but one day or any day, those countries can become hostile to immigrants or to people that are not from there and ask you to go back to your own, it can happen. It's not impossible. The world can suddenly become a hostile place for immigrants. And that's when you realize that really you just have one place where you come from. So you have to make sure that your corner of the earth, last, you can always go back home. And that's why we're fighting for Nigeria to be a more hospitable place. And honestly, Seun, if we had other options, let's say Osinbajo had been on the ballot, it would have been a different scenario, because then you're literally comparing like with like. The permutations are different. But when you look at an option where on one hand you don't know how the person makes their money, you don't know what primary school they went to, or second, everything about them is a mystery. On the other hand, you have someone that is very clear. For me, the choice was a no-brainer.
But if Oshibajo was, for example, on the ballot, maybe APC or something, maybe you have a divided.
I'll have been put in the corner. that's the time. Well, maybe I'll admit that okay, I'm going to vote Peter Obi because he's Igbo like me. Because when they are both equal, and other considerations can come into play. So that you might say, okay, this one is from my side, I'll vote this one. But you can't. When there is a clear disparity in competence, then you always have to put competence first.
So, your expectation bar for the Bola Tinubu administration is so low. Is that what is happening right now?
It's not my hope. Even after the election, I said I hope that he will do well, but my logical mind tells me that it is not possible because of the political culture. When you have a political culture of sharing money and that's how you retain loyalty and win elections, where is the money to develop the country? So I can't see how a political system like that. I don't have any problem with the person. My problem is their political culture, the political system.
People around him.
Yes.
You don't think Bola Tinubu himself is the problem?
It's not. I'm not saying. I'm saying that his political ideology, his political culture, the way he goes about winning and maintaining himself in office, and everybody around him, when you hear them talk, they always talk about how he has done something for them personally. He gave me an opportunity. So it seems like you maintain power by sharing or distributing opportunities to your supporters. And those opportunities are really supposed to be opportunities that every Nigerian should have access to. I don't need to know you. I don't need to be your friend. I don't need to be loyal to you to be able to have equal opportunity to compete for those resources. But you use those resources to maintain your structure. And so very little is left for the rest of us. And so it's a political culture that must impoverish the country. I don't see how we can develop the country.
And you think that with that political culture, there's no way Nigeria can move ahead?
I think so. I think that it's the political culture that needs to change. If you vote for somebody, you are doing a public service. It's not a loan that you've taken out. The person is going to have to repay you back from out of that office. So until we free public resources and we're not using the bulk of it to be servicing political structure, Nigeria can't go anywhere now.
I mean, there are those who are close to the president who says he has told them in private conversations and said, look, he wants to liberate this country. He has little or nothing left to prove to anyone. He's in money, he's in power, he's been a governor, he's made people, that he has really nothing to prove to anyone. That what he wants to do is to leave a legacy. And in fact, there are those who are even telling him that the man, at the moment, he doesn't care about the second term. That he just wants to do things and do things. In fact, there is someone who said that the man says he wants to be the Lee Kuan Yew of Nigeria. So with all of those mindset, I mean, for a moment, because I'm an incurable optimist, because I want to give people a chance to say, oh, let's even see, and the benefit of the doubt, let's see what this person is capable of. If he says he wants to be the Lee Kuan Yew of Nigeria, whatever the definition of that, I imagine that he wants to prove a point to his doubters to say, you think I cannot do it, but I'm going to prove you wrong. When you hear those kind of narratives and those talks, and these are people who I know that have told me personally and whom I respect, who would not lie to me, and this is not one or two, multiple people who have told me this. What sense does this give you in any case?
I mean, it's always good to hear that, and I don't doubt that that's probably what he wants.
The intention
as a person, that's what he wants, and it's good to hear that. But the problem is not personal, it's systemic. First of all, the example he set is a bad one. The way, for me, his path to power, he set a bad example and empowered everybody out there who many young politicians have now said that is how to do it. If you want to get into office, that's how to do it.
Which is what?
You run with it. That's the mentality you have to come at politics with. And that has empowered an entire generation of politicians who are going to do it that way. And unfortunately, the path you take to power is also going to limit what you can do in power. Your path to power matters because it means that you're going to enter the office with or without moral authority. And you need moral authority, not just formal authority. You need moral authority to truly lead. The example of Lee Kuan Yew is not just about a person who wanted to develop his country, but also about a person who stood by certain principles. And if you listen to the Lee Kuan Yew principle, which I also subscribe to, he calls it the MPH ideology. M for meritocracy, P for pragmatism, H for honesty in political office. These are not things you mouth, you have to live it. So Lee Kuan Yew in office, he didn't go after people that were stealing small money. One of the first people he jailed was a major political ally for corruption. Because that's what sends a powerful signal to the rest of society that I'm not playing. But if we are living in a society where we're seeing people we know have very dodgy and they are there, they are in the inner circle, they are all free, it doesn't matter what your personal wish is. If we're not dealing with public sector corruption, then because no matter what the president wants in Aso Villa, his wishes are translated to reality through the public sector. They are his arms and legs. So if they are not corrupt, if they are corrupt and they're not efficient, he can wish what he wants at the level of Aso Villa, but we're not going to see it on the streets because the willingness, the will to deal with corruption is not there. Why is it not there? Because these are his political allies. You know, that's why I said the system that is in play cannot produce development. It's not because I'm not optimistic. I'm not one of those that, you know, some people, when they see a corrupt politician, they'll say, oh, Nigeria is bad. There's nothing wrong with Nigeria as a concept. Nigeria is a beautiful country. The problem is the political culture. That's once we change it's like changing the software. Everything will just start working.
So we need to kill that culture.
We need to kill that culture.
Build a system that can engender progress, because it's not progressive from the way you describe it.
It's not progressive at all.
And we cannot move forward.
We can.
Well, how do we kill that political culture that you think can kill Nigeria if we don't kill it?
Well, like I said, the majority of Nigerians didn't vote for this. And that is why I still have hope in this country. If I had 50 million Nigerians, 60 million Nigerians voting for this, we can then say, oh, maybe, look, Nigerians, there's something about the way we're thinking. But to know that the majority of us didn't vote for it means that there is what I call a sleeping electorate. Our voices are not being heard. And they're not being heard because we're not organizing properly, which is now the lesson we can learn from successful politicians, because their success is built on effective organization and mobilization of their people that think like them. So people that think like I do and like you do need to also organize and mobilize and have a plan. It doesn't mean that you win power in 4 years. But in 15, 20 years, if you organize, you can find that you're suddenly in positions of power to begin to change things. So I think the solution is about mobilization, organization. It's the way it's happened all over the world.
And these kind of things don't happen on the election year.
No.
We are getting, it's getting late already.
It's already late. It's not even getting late.
So if there is no, that organization that you're talking about, if it has not started now, there's a problem in 2027.
2027 for me is already late. Thinking about 2031, 2035. So whatever seeds you're planting now, that's when they're going to
start reaping it.
You're going to start reaping it. 2027 is forgone.
It's gone.
Almost forgone. Let me not say it's gone, but it's there's more probability that it will go the way of 23. The probability is higher. It doesn't mean we will not still fight, but I'm a realist. You know, even if you're fighting a cause that is lost, you know you're fighting it knowing that it's still important to fight it. Let it be on record that somebody said that this thing is wrong. Whether the ship is going down or not, let it be on record that somebody said this thing is wrong. But I really think that people that really care about Nigeria have to start coming together. People that believe in rising above tribalism, religious bigotry, people that believe in judging each other by, if I were to borrow the words of Martin Luther King, by the content of your character rather than where you come from. people that believe that every kobo of public resources should be used for the people. You cannot be using Nigeria's money to be servicing political structure. It is wrong. People like that have to start coming together, having conversations, forming themselves into pressure groups, and really thinking strategically and intentionally about how to evolve into effective political parties.
And I mean, I know to a large extent that political organization or citizen-centric organization for civic action and all that takes time. There's a gestation. There is a there are processes through which you can, bring about the kind of change that you want, and the kind of change that you're talking about. And you look at those who will be 18 years by the next election, and those who are 18 as at the last election, they are just going to be 22 in the next election. There's still people who are maybe out of jobs, people who are literally being fed by their parents. So largely, social and economic decisions are still not a reality for them.
Yeah.
And it takes a whole lot to be able to convince them to be able to, because their awareness and their focus, their purpose is totally different from those who are fully aware. And it takes a lot of work and effort to do. And if that is not being done right now, like you said, it's almost late. Do you fear, because there are those who think that Peter Obi should still throw his hat in the ring, that people will feel, oh, if he does, without a proper alliance and coming together of other opposition forces, there's still going to be the kind of defeats that we saw in 2023. What kind of coalition or what kind of organization do you see? On one hand, you've described what you think the citizens should be doing, but within the political cycle, what kind of organization do you think should be happening?
I think now the opposition should be coming together. I think, that the opposition needs to come together. It's the only way by which 2027 can go in a different direction. So we need the major opposition figures to close ranks. I think it is still important that people like Peter Obi throw their hat in the ring. It's important that the world knows that there are other alternatives, that Nigeria is not just looking one way, that there are other people who are saying different. Like I said earlier, even if you're going to lose, sometimes standing up to fight is still important for it to be on the record. But I don't think that an electoral loss is definitely, there's a possibility of winning. But to win, the opposition needs to close ranks. That one is, in terms of the political space as it is today, you can't have this fragmented opposition and win.
It's not possible. You don't see that pathway for 2027
unless the opposition.
If it goes the way it went 2023, the result might likely be the same. Is that what you see?
Yes, because there has been a lot of state capture and key state institutions. Their ability to act independently is suspect, and to counter something like that, you need overwhelming number. You will need overwhelming number. So the opposition needs to come together. It can't be just one person talking, and that was one of the problems. Because in the end, the opposition or the other candidates together had more votes than the candidate and won. That was the story of 2023. So the opposition definitely needs to come together.
Because it does look like the gameplay as of 2023 and the characters that were in force in the different political parties are still very actively engaging. And you imagine that they are actually organizing ahead of 2027. And on the same platform, in the same character that we see, it's likely that we see a repeat of what happened in 2023. In fact, the ballot of 2023 might look like exactly the same with 2027 if things go the way it is right now, except something drastic change in all of those other parties. So I'm imagining in my head, if the status quo is maintained in terms of what other political parties, that means that there might be a re-strategization in a different cycle to be able to achieve a different result. If that is the case, would you still think Peter Obi will be your choice? And what do you think would change the game?
I mean, he'll based on things as they are today, he'll still be my choice because he has conducted himself in a way that I'm happy with since he lost the elections. He hasn't disengaged. He's been in the field. He's been engaging with different parts of the country. So I think if there's a realignment that has him on the ticket and opposition coalescing around him, I think that 2027 can go differently. Yeah, I think so.
What do you say to the young people? And you see the demography of the young people in that election, very unimpressive. And you imagine that the kind of activity you see online, you would think that kind of activity will culminate to the offline. And the offline for me is the most important.
Absolutely.
Online push, very good. You see a lot of activity. And the offline, if you detach yourself, you will still come back online and complain.
Yeah.
What do you say to the young people? I know you are not a young man any longer, but what do you say to the young people about their future? What could they be doing right now? And what are the expectations for the nearest future?
I would say, look, just what you've just said, that in the end, the activism that matters is the one at the polling unit. That's the activism that matters the most. It doesn't matter how much and how fiercely you protest and you march and you raise placards. When somebody is in power and they're in office, they have the yam and the knife. They don't really, they don't have to listen to you. They also have their own constituency. So, you can't just come on air and say the president should do this and he does it. Like, why should he listen to you? There are other people also telling him to do what he's doing, and he or she has won. So they don't have to listen to you. So the activism that really matters is that voting day. That's when everything is really up in the air. Anything else you're doing is not as effective. There's no insult. You're going to insult anybody on social media that's going to make them say, oh, I'm so sorry. I'm ashamed of it. It's not going to happen. You have to remove people from office through the ballot box. That's the only activism that matters. And so my encouragement to young Nigerians is to participate. You're too young to lose hope. You're too young to say, oh, it's never going to work. Every country that you admire was built by young people that stayed and stuck in. I always give the example of South Africa, the Soweto massacre. 13-year-old children were marching on the streets and they were shot down by the apartheid police. And it still didn't stop the struggle. We're not even that bad in Nigeria where police is shooting children in the streets. 13-year-olds were shot in Soweto and they continue to struggle. It's the reality of social change. If we don't harness the energy of our young people, Nigeria can't change. But on the flip side, you need political ideologies, you need political narratives that inspire young people. The problem is that young people are not hearing or seeing anything in the political space that's inspiring. So if things stay as they are, what you see in 2027 is that even less people will vote. The number of votes, maybe the president will now win with 5 million votes. It will just be dropping. Because a lot of people have completely tuned off. Politics is not inspiring. And that's why we need new narratives. That's why we need new forms of political organization. Because the moment, look at Obama's victory. He brought new voters to the polling unit. That's all. You have to bring a new electorate. People that are already voting, they are set in their habit. They will vote APC or PDP out of habit. If you want to break that cycle, you have to bring new electorates to the polling unit. And that needs a new narrative, a new style, a new way of talking and thinking and organizing that can catch the imagination of young people. You need to be thinking about today's 13-year-olds because in 8 years, they're going to be 21. They are the ones, 13, 14, 15, as they are coming up. What are you saying that is exciting and interesting to these people? So, my message to young Nigerians is Nigeria is Nigeria has so much potential. I have so much faith. We're 200 million. The statistically, at some point, we'll get it right. We can't keep getting it wrong. At some point, we'll get it right. And the moment we get it right, the world will know. They will hear. Because of our mass and because of the energy we have. I tell people all the time that Nigerian government it doesn't look like Nigerians. Nigerians are agile. They are creative. They anyhow, they get the job done. Then you have a government that can't even build a road, can't even run a hospital. Meanwhile, Nigerians are able to start businesses that become global businesses.